Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to meet the man who lost 300 pounds with just one promise. A man who went from being bullied as a kid to bullying other kids. A man who was so broken he attempted suicide and then became one of the toughest mental forces on the planet. His story is going to inspire you to do something that you have always wanted to do. Let's begin. David Goggins did not always have it easy. He grew up in Buffalo, New York, but spent most of his childhood in Indiana. Both parents were abusive, which created a violent and toxic environment. In school, he struggled because of racism and dyslexia, which gave him a very low self-esteem, and at home, nobody loved him. So he didn't feel like he had a sense of purpose or belonging. But he knew that if he let life get to him, he would be no better than his father. He was determined to overcome all of his challenges and become someone great. But how does a dyslexic, bullied, overweight kid make it in this world? Well, he turned his weaknesses into strengths. When he was 19 years old, he joined the US Navy, but he didn't want to be any ordinary sailor. No, he wanted more. He wanted to become a Navy SEAL. It was the hardest and most elite division in the military. So while he trained to become a SEAL, he also began working out like crazy. He lifted heavy weights and pushed his body to the absolute limit. Unfortunately, right before his physical examination, he hurt his knee and he couldn't run anymore, so he failed his physical fitness test. That really broke him. He felt like he was a failure. He was already getting close to 300 pounds. He was working as a pest control officer. He was binge eating and he was depressed. He was literally wasting away. One day he was watching a documentary about Navy SEALs. They were so strong, disciplined, resilient, and focused. They never quit. He realized that he had 3 months to lose over 100 pounds. If he managed to do that, he could be accepted into the Navy SEALs training. But he had to be realistic. How does an overweight guy who can't even run lose over 100 pounds in just 3 months? He asked himself this question, and he answered, no excuses. It was a simple sentence, but extremely powerful. He said to himself, I will lose over 100 pounds in the next 3 months, no matter what. He didn't say it to anybody. He didn't want people to hold him accountable. He simply whispered these words inside of his mind. Then he walked out the door and began running. He ran 2 miles to the local gym and he began lifting weights. He barely made it through the first day. He was in extreme pain. His muscles were on fire and he was already exhausted. But he pushed through it. As he did his first workout, he made another promise to himself. Tomorrow I will push myself even harder than today. And he kept that promise day after day. It wasn't just about losing weight anymore. It was about becoming mentally tough and showing everybody that they were wrong about him. After 3 months, he had lost 106 pounds and qualified for the Navy SEAL training. He was so excited, but he knew that this was only the beginning. This training was so difficult that 95% of the candidates quit or got kicked out. But he had built a routine of pain, progress, and persistence. He was no longer afraid of hard work. In fact, he thrived on it. He put everything he had into passing the selection process, and he became a full-fledged US Navy SEAL. But he didn't stop there. He went on to complete more than 20 ultramarathons, including the Badwater 135, which is an annual race held in Death Valley. He became the world record holder in pull-ups, and he also wrote a best-selling book called Couldn't Hurt Me. But these accomplishments are not why we are here today. We are here to talk about his mindset. What makes him so special is not his trophies, but the way he thinks. David Goggins is now one of the most inspirational figures in the world. When it comes to mental toughness, people from all walks of life listen to his message. He has spoken to everyone from the NBA to the NFL, from special forces to CEOs and best-selling authors. In this video, I am going to share with you the core principles that make him go, because let me tell you, this man doesn't just motivate people, he actually transforms them, and he can do the same for you too. He will teach you how to turn your weaknesses into strengths. Everyone has weaknesses, but if you embrace them and work on them every single day, they can actually become your biggest strengths. For example, his weakness was being overweight and out of shape, but instead of seeing this as a problem, he decided to make it his superpower. He started working out like crazy and he transformed his body so much that he went from looking like this to looking like this. He will teach you how to become mentally resilient. Nobody said that this journey was going to be easy, but that didn't stop him. Every time he faced a challenge, he used it as fuel to become stronger. For example, he failed his first SEAL training attempts because of injuries, but instead of giving up, he came back on his 3rd try and passed with flying colors. He literally didn't have anything left to lose. He was so desperate to prove to himself that he could do it. This mental toughness is what allowed him to succeed where others had failed. He will teach you how to push past your limits. He was already exhausted from his previous workout, but that didn't stop him from running 2 more miles to the gym. This is the mentality that allowed him to become one of the fittest men alive. He doesn't believe in excuses, he believes in results. He will teach you how to focus on what you can control, instead of worrying about the things that were out of his control. He focused on the one thing that he could control, his attitude. He made a promise to himself to do one thing every day, and that was to keep moving forward. That's all he needed to change his entire life. And finally, he will teach you how to make a promise to yourself and keep it. He didn't wait for motivation, he built discipline. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. It doesn't matter what your situation is. You can be fat, poor, ugly, or whatever. What matters is that you make a promise to yourself every day and keep it. That's how you change your life. That's how you become successful. That's how you become unbreakable. Now I will leave you with a quote from David Goggins that summarizes everything I have said in this video. Discipline is not the absence of fear. Discipline is fear. Discipline is that voice inside of you that says, do it scared. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.